Have you heard of the so-called King of the Jews who massacred hundreds, if not thousands of babies in a country that starts with the letter P, but that I can't name because I don't want to have this video shadow banned? A baby born in Bethlehem had to run away with his family to Egypt to escape the massacre. If you think this story is familiar, it could be because it was the story of Jesus, who was born in Bethlehem in the country I won't name. The birth of Jesus was celebrated. We all know the story of how he was greeted by 3 magi who each gave gifts, but according to Matthew the Apostle, it wasn't only celebration. Herod the Great was Judea's king, and he heard that the 3 magi would witness the birth of the next king of the Jews. Herod didn't want someone to dethrone him, so he decided to kill all the boys under 2 years old in and around Bethlehem. They didn't kill Jesus, that would come later, but this moment, coined the Massacre of the Innocents, became quite popular as these children were the first martyrs. They died in the place of Jesus. The Massacre of the Innocents has been depicted many times throughout history, but my favorite version of it was made by Peter Paul Rubens in 1610. This striking scene is happening in Bethlehem. You see men in the military with swords and armor. You see women being afraid and fighting back. And you see babies, a lot of babies, dead on the ground. Some of the most terrifying images show a man throwing a baby, a woman mourning her child, pulling her hair in disbelief and panic, 2 women trying to escape Bethlehem but stopped by men with weapons. But the most disturbing image has to be the elderly lady trying to fight back, her breast hanging out of her shirt. She lost her dignity trying to fight. She's trying to stop a sword from plunging into her body by holding its blade with her bare hand. But she's still fighting back. You see her bite the finger of her aggressor. Her use of desperate violence may be called terrorism by some. However, the central figure in the image is the woman in red. She's holding her baby. The man trying to kill it doesn't have a grip on it. She's also using violence by clawing at his face. If there's any hope in this painting, it's here. This painting is my favorite depiction of the Massacre of the Innocents, though I must admit I'm biased because I saw it in person in Toronto last week. It's enormous, and when looking at it, you can't help but think of another massacre happening now, which I can't name, but you know very well what I'm talking about. And what's most interesting is that Rubens probably made this painting thinking of another massacre, not the one that happened when Jesus was born, nor the one that's been happening for less than a century today, obviously, but one that Rubens was, himself, concerned by. Rubens arrived in Antwerp in 1608, 2 years before making the Massacre of the Innocents. He arrived there in the middle of the 80 Years' War, which saw the Spanish and the Dutch fighting. Put simply, the Dutch were under Spanish rule and they wanted to be independent, in large part for religious reasons, but also for political and economic reasons. There was a series of events during the 80 Years' War which was coined the Spanish Fury, and one of these events was the sack of Antwerp. In 1576, about 30 years before Rubens arrived in Antwerp, Antwerp was looted, burned, and people were, again, massacred. This painting shows the scale of the event. Rubens painted the Massacre of the Innocents in the middle of the 80 Years' War, but he did so during a truce between the Dutch and the Spanish. Nevertheless, he arrived in Antwerp and most likely met people who witnessed and were scarred and traumatized by the sack of Antwerp or any other battle or massacre. I think my first instinct when looking at this painting through the lens of the current massacre happening in a certain country isn't wrong. We obviously interpret things through our own experiences, anxieties, and indignation. I don't know if Rubens made the Massacre of the Innocents through his own experience or indignation. It's possible that he only wanted to depict a scene of the Bible and this is the one he selected because it made for a shocking result. But I have a feeling, and I'm not the only one who believes this, that he made this painting as a reaction to Antwerp's socio-political situation, either it be out of real indignation or to appeal to the sensibilities of the people in his new city. There's something cynical in presenting a painting which reflects, in this video alone, 3 massacres. One which allegedly happened 2,000 years ago, one which happened over 400 years ago, and one that's happening today. And it could reflect others. One could deduce that war is inevitable, that humanity will always kill each other for religion, territory, and resources. Innocents have always been massacred, and they will continue to be. I try to believe that it's not inevitable, and what keeps me hopeful is that for every massacre, there will always be people denouncing it. This painting shows this. The original Massacre of the Innocents is denouncing Herod the Great. The one that Rubens depicted denounced the Massacre of Spain, and this video is my own denouncement of Israel. I want to believe that massacres will never be accepted as long as people are aware of it. I want to believe that one day we will make it impossible for people to benefit from exploitation, from ecocides, and from genocides. Seeing this painting being able to denounce multiple massacres shows, to me, that massacres aren't inevitable, that there will always be a general, universal repugnance for power, and as long as we find solidarity in that, there will always be optimism, hope that one day the incentives to enact these atrocities will be no more. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you Roman Brandel, X-Towns, Bagel Speece, and all my other patrons for supporting the channel. If you also want to help out, leave a like, subscribe, and check out patreon.com/thecanvas. Thank you so much.